Baku is a circuit that always, one way or another, leads you to chaos, to completely changing situations. And this time chaos. It moved up to Saturday, where we had a completely brutal qualifying, but the race itself was very flat. Overall, it wasn't the greatest show on earth. Does this give someone who was nearly out a chance to compete for the title again? If in the next Grand Prix races the situation remains the same. From now on, there are 7 races left until the end of the season, and absolutely nothing is set in stone. But for us, it's time to sum up the most important things that this round of the World Championship at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix has left us. Yesterday, we had a completely absurd and chaotic qualifying session, with 6 red flags and lasting 2 hours where we saw accidents involving Leclerc. Albon Berman with Lapinto and the championship leader also crashed, giving his title rival a perfect opportunity to close the points gap. But Norris chose to support him by doing a poor final qualifying lap, finishing just 2 places ahead of his teammate, who couldn't start his last lap, resulting in this time trial outcome. Liam Lawson III finished ahead of Carlos Sainz II, with Max Verstappen taking a dominant pole position. He saw before him another golden opportunity to win this Grand Prix and get closer in the fight for the Drivers' Championship. This chaotic qualifying session showed that with the right conditions and drivers out of place, anything could happen. Norris and Piastri were in 7th and 9th position, and a circuit where the walls can be very unforgiving, making for an absurd race on a track that knows how to summon chaos when it wants to. And before the Grand Prix started, Esteban Ocon's disqualification from qualifying was the day's only surprise, as his wing flexed beyond regulations, forcing him to start last. On Sunday, all that remained was to see if the predictions were right, if Max Verstappen would win, or if we'd get the chaotic race we hoped for. And once the cars lined up on the starting grid, the traffic lights would go out. And with that, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix would begin. As expected, Verstappen didn't give his rivals any chance to attack him in the first corner. But what's striking at this moment is that Piastri started before the lights went out. When he stopped the car to avoid a false start, he accidentally triggered the anti-stall. As a result, he lost many positions at the start and ended up in a tough spot. Alonso also got distracted by this, jumped the start, and received a 5-second penalty. Norris, for his part, lost a position at the start when Hajar overtook him, but things were about to get much worse for McLaren. Because Piastri, desperate after making his mistake at the start, misjudges the braking at turn 6 goes wide and ends up crashing straight into the wall. And with that, he forced himself to retire from the race, giving both Max Verstappen and Lando Norris the chance to score valuable points. And this accident would bring out the safety car to remove the car and completely neutralize the race. A safety car period lasted until lap 4, and where the action quickly resumed with Norris, who was completely caught sleeping and fell victim to an attack from Charles Leclerc, dropping him to 9th position, at a moment that looked very bad and where it seemed the British driver wouldn't be able to take advantage of the gift his teammate gave him. By lap 6, Norris and Leclerc would overtake Isaac Hajar, both moving up 1 position respectively. But from that moment on, we saw the show of the damned Piadrelli tires again, which just won't degrade no matter what, and the drag reduction system train show. We saw Liam Lawson being completely unbeatable by Kimi Antonelli's Mercedes, and Tsunoda holding off George Russell's attacks. Until he overtook on lap 10. But behind, the race was very stable, with few overtakes, with Norris even unable to get past Charles Leclerc at the start, and the race was very flat at this particular point until the pit stops started to happen. Seeing how difficult it was to overtake due to the low degradation, some teams tried to make early pit stops. For example, Antonelli went for the undercut by pitting on lap 19, trying to take the position from Liam Lawson. And before the Italian driver's pit stop, both Franco Colapinto and Alex Albon had already come into the pits on their different strategies. The two met on track, but Albon made an incomprehensible move. He ended up taking out Franco Colapinto, ruining his race, and for this action he was given a 10-second penalty. Colapinto was in 13th place at this point, but with this accident, his chances of scoring points were practically ended in an instant. At this moment on the track, there was a huge variety of strategies. Verstappen, like George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, started on hard tires to extend their opening stint longer than other rivals. Unlike Lawson, Antonelli, Sainz, Leclerc, and Norris, who decided to start on medium tires, with Lawson doing so to protect himself from Antonelli's undercut. He pitted on lap 21, and the strategy paid off as he emerged ahead of the Italian. But one lap later, Kimi managed to overtake him on the main straight, taking advantage of the moment when the tires were at a much better temperature. And if the pace was there, this could mean a podium for the Italian driver. One lap before Liam Lawson's stop, Ferrari attempted the undercut to pass Noda and defend against Norris by pitting on lap 20. This turned out to be a big mistake as he soon got stuck behind Liam Lawson, practically studying the sponsors on his rear wing. Pretty much the whole race, since he never had enough speed to overtake him and stayed in this position for almost the entire race. Seeing this, McLaren and Norris decided to extend the life of that medium tire as much as possible, hoping that the heated battle Lawson was giving Leclerc would allow him to come out ahead when he pitted and thus gain 2 positions. From here, we'd see battles outside the top 10 and overtakes on drivers out of sync with their strategies. Within the top 10, everything remained very stable, unlike the previous day's chaos. Sainz, for his part, pitted on lap 28 and managed to come out ahead of Antonelli, protecting his second place in the race for the moment. Meanwhile, things stayed the same further back, as Leclerc examined the sponsors on Lawson's rear wing. Norris extended his stint before pitting, and with Verstappen winning without anyone having even the slightest chance of beating him in this race. Hamilton, starting on hard tires, pitted on lap 37 for mediums, followed by Norris on lap 38. At the time of his stop, he had a big enough gap to rejoin ahead of Lawson and Leclerc, potentially securing virtual 6th or 5th place. But, as has been usual for him this season, his pit stop ended up being extremely slow, around 4 seconds, and when he came out, he ended up once again behind Liam, Lawson, and Leclerc. When Tsunoda pits a lap later, he exits ahead of all 3, but Lawson uses his warmer tires to overtake and regain the position. 5th, again, a small train followed Captain Lawson, which was once again going to be a wall where absolutely no one would be able to overtake him, making life incredibly difficult for Tsunoda, Norris, and Charles Leclerc. Up front, the fight for the podium was between the Mercedes drivers and the Williams of Carlos Sainz. But thanks to excellent tire management and the pace George Russell showed when he pitted, he was able to come out ahead of Carlos, which put him in 2nd place and relegated the Spaniard to 3rd. And Antonelli, with this, ended up off the podium. Max pitted on lap 41, and at this point, all he had to do was fly to the end of the race. In a Grand Prix where he faced little threat, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix ultimately left us with the train. Lawson, Noda, Leclerc, and Norris, with the Briton overtaking Charles Leclerc on lap 41 to claim 7th place. But from that point on, no matter how much Noda tried and Norris looked for a gap to get his car past the Japanese driver, neither of them could complete the move, with Lawson defending himself fiercely against any attempt to overtake by much faster cars. Ferrari told Leclerc to let Hamilton pass, so Hamilton, on fresh and medium tires, could try a different strategy. But it was exactly the same. The train that Lawson created made it impossible for anyone behind him to overtake, so they basically finished in those positions. Lastly, the race ended with Hamilton being told to let Leclerc pass to respect the result, but he chose not to follow the order. But when they reached lap 51, Max Verstappen was the first to cross the finish line. He won the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and with this, he took 25 valuable points away from the leader of the World Drivers' Championship. Max Verstappen's 4th win this season, even though it's still tough to turn the championship around with races like this and Red Bull's current pace. In addition to the 7 races we still have ahead of us, he is by no means out of the fight to win his 5th consecutive Drivers' Championship. The rest of the top 10 of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix would finish as follows. Russell took 2nd with a strong race, Sainz claimed 3rd, and Antonelli finished 4th, narrowly missing the podium. Liam Lawson finished 5th with a superb race. Yuki Tsunoda took 6th. 7th position and a mediocre weekend for Norris and McLaren, 8th position for Lewis Hamilton, 9th place for Charles Leclerc, and closing out the top 10, Isaac Hadjar, taking the last point of this Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Like I said before, Baku circuit either delivers an epic race or the most boring procession ever. Unfortunately, today was more of the latter. Despite having drivers out of their usual positions and the chaos from yesterday, the lack of degradation led to little action. Along with the drag reduction system trains, they've brought things to life. A flat Grand Prix from start to finish, few overtakes, no battle for the lead, though it did deliver some unexpected results. I'll give this Grand Prix a 4, the race was boring. And it's a shame that once again Pirelli and their rocks ruined the show. But at least this race opens up the possibility for the last 7 races to be much more entertaining and, with that, a better end to the season. My drivers of the day are Liam Lawson, in a race where he was a wall for all his rivals, saving 5th place. Carlos Sainz, after a smooth weekend, secures a podium finish. And obviously, Max Verstappen, who as usual this weekend has been completely perfect, controlling from start to finish and very easily taking the victory at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. My disappointment today is mainly McLaren's 2 drivers, but also the team overall. Piastri ends the worst weekend I've seen from him in Formula 1, where he was uncomfortable since practice and had 2 costly accidents. This lets his rivals close the points gap, which, though small, is still with his main title rival. It allows Max Verstappen to get closer and start becoming a threat for the crown. Norris, for his part, has been completely missing this weekend. Squandered every chance Ska Piast gave him with a poor qualifying lap, starting 7th. In the opening laps, he was repeatedly overtaken by rivals, reducing his chance to recover points. And, overall, a very wasted race on his part. Today, thanks to all these mistakes, McLaren didn't win the Constructors' Championship, and it's unlikely that anyone will take this crown from them and that they'll become champions in Singapore. But the complicated thing for them now is that even though Verstappen's title steal seems practically impossible, his shadow has appeared again. What if both drivers keep making mistakes? Don't be surprised if they give the monster the chance to come and snatch everything from them at the end of this season. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our summary of the 2025 Formula 1 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. But this is where I ask you, what did you think of this Grand Prix? Did you like it? Were you disappointed? What rating would you give the race, and who were your drivers of the day and your disappointments of the day? Let me know all your opinions in the comments section. That's all. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so you know when I'm uploading a new video, and share this with your friends. I also invite you to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Links are in the video description. And I'll see you soon for more content here on your Skyline Racing channel. Thank you for tuning in. See you later.